Thanks again for your time, which we know will be well spent on your ultimate current affairs program on a weekend like this, Politics Today, and it's reaching you live on independent television and radio. As always, our conversation will center on issues that are emerging in the race for the 2023 election. One major talking point of concern is the issue of insecurity. A few days ago, the president of Omega Fire Ministries was attacked in Edo North Senatorial District. About 7 people died in that attack. Questions have been coming forward as to the motive of those who carried out that attack. What were the fact that the man who was supposed to be the only major lead to unravel the mysteries of that attack was allegedly killed? We understand the police hierarchy has taken some very, very stringent decision to unravel that, but so many questions are still begging for answers. This is against the background that recently the U.S. Embassy gave a warning to its staff that there are threats of attack in Abuja. The Director of State Security Services, or the Department of State Security Services, did come out to ask Nigerians not to panic, that this is not the first time such a warning will be coming out. This will set the discussion pace for today as we look at other issues as we get along on today's edition of the program Politics Today. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. I have with me Reverend Phil Aroji. Reverend Phil is a regular on this program. Is the Edo State chairperson for the youth wing of CAN and PFN. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and good morning, viewers.
We also have with us the NBA Benin branch former chairman, I guess. Yeah, Barrister Pius Oiwo is with us. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on this program.
I also have with us in the studio the former president of Network of Civil Society Organization in Edo State and is into big-time advocacy now, Barrister Abraham Obiawe. Thank you for joining us.
A pleasure to be here, and good morning to viewers and listeners at home.
We also have Barrister St. Michael Egwauge, who will be joining us on the second half of the program. But let's get started with our panelists here. A major talking point always in a penultimate year before an election, the menace of insecurity. Let's look at your perspectives on the warning issued by the U.S. Embassy, and then followed by the attack on the president of Omega Fire Ministries, Apostle Suleiman, with all the issues and the underlying current following that matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sonny Duke. The U.S. Embassy and the U.K. Embassy and other embassies have issued that warning. In fact, the U.S., as a follow-up to the first statement, had actually directed their non-core staff, non-emergency staff, to leave Abuja immediately. The first warning has to do with restriction of movement. Don't go to public place except it's very essential. But the second one said non-emergency, non-core staff should relocate from Abuja immediately, and that they have done. It is left for the Nigerian government and the Inspector General of Police particularly to tell Nigerians, to reassure us that it's a normal warning. They need to do the needful. They need to come up clean. They need to show evidence to Nigerians that what the U.S. and the U.K. government or embassies are saying in Nigeria is not true. But the realities on ground, coming back home with what happened to God's servant, Apostle Johnson Suleiman, on the 21st of October, shows that the warning that is being given is real. Because if someone in the capacity of Suleiman, Apostle Johnson Suleiman, can be so attacked, not outside the state, not even outside the jurisdiction, just 10 minutes to his house, and 7 persons died, then that will tell you the level of insecurity in this country. Let me plainly say here that attack on Apostle Johnson Suleiman is an attack against the church in Nigeria, because it's a major voice. You may not like him. If the church was a military formation, Suleiman would be a general next to a field marshal, because it's a major voice in the body of Christ in Edo State. When Deborah Yakubu was killed from Nigeria State, was killed in Sokoto sometime May this year, the church all over the country went protesting. I think that was on 22nd of May. Everybody, she was killed on the 12th. 10 days later, all of us went to the street to protest across the nation. If you are to read Deborah will be a private in the army, recruit. Johnson Suleiman is a general, and the church is concerned. Okay. Edo people are concerned. The body of Christ is concerned that such magnitude of attack, if he has offended anybody, go and report to the law enforcement agency. Okay. You can't take laws into your hand by wanting to kill a man of that side. I will not let that happen. Right. It won't happen.
All right, Bryce Tapayo, let's get your take on the warnings. And this is something we have seen over the years. I remember in the election that culminated in 2015, there was a warning from the U.S. that by 2015, Nigeria will not be together again. But today, Nigeria is still together. So,
well, the United States of America may have said or predicted such a doom that it will happen to Nigeria at such a time. But of course, these were signs and information given to us to be able to assess, and then look critically, and then possibly take steps to prevent some of these things. A country like America, and particularly the United Kingdom too, have come up to say, look, there is a growing security concern, and of course, giving us an alert. And what that means is that, of course, we should take such steps. We should be vigilant, and then we should also take steps to increase our surveillance of the entire country. And then, of course, with the events that have happened over time, one would not but consider seriously what these great nations have talked about. The rising incidents and cases of insecurity in our dear country is one that we should not just kind of throw caution to the wind, or as it were. And we should, as a matter of fact, take these things very seriously. I've not seen any government official coming out to say that, oh, what America has come up to say is not true. Rather, they have come up to assure us that, oh, look, we should be vigilant, and then we should increase, of course, surveillance of the area. Okay. And then, of course, the various security formations and the different, to enhance our security architecture too. You recall that Nigeria as a country, particularly with the emergence of this administration of Buhari, it came up to identify 3 core areas that would be of concern in this administration. He talked about corruption, he talked about economy and security. You will agree with me that this government has failed abysmally in these 3 areas. Not too long ago, of course, I'm sure it will form part of our discussions soon, they're talking about trying to, of course, redesign the currency. And then this again is causing more problem in our economy. Okay. The Naira is depreciating. I'm sure you've been told the value of the Naira between day before yesterday and yesterday and today.
We'll talk about that.
And then, of course, and the area of corruption, of course, it's a disaster. There is a rising and growing incidence of corruption in our country. It appears that before now, we saw that the government was targeting certain persons, and then now we observe that our political actors are increasingly, of course, becoming firm in their kind of involvement in areas of corruption. Okay. So nothing is really being said about it. Then the area of security is one area that is completely, will I say that the government is completely insensitive about it, but the government has no clue as to how to solve the security problem. From the north to the south, from the west to the east, there is sincerely nothing to
but cases are bound where arrests have been made. I mean, every now and then, the security agents, particularly the military, they are posting reports and results.
Yes,
of
reports are being posted. Yeah. But of course, not too long ago, of course, we are all even witnesses to the attack on the Kuje prison. How the whole scenario played out, one will begin to wonder whether indeed the government is sincere in fighting insecurity.
Let me pause you there, Barrister Iwo. Yes. Barrister Abraham of Yahweh. These are things we've witnessed over the years, and there have been consistent assurances of government's efforts to ensure that this is nipped in the bud. What's your greatest concerns in all of this?
Yeah, my greatest concern, in fact, the biggest disappointment that can happen to any man is when a man who you put your hope on fails you. Now I agree why people say you do not put your hope in man, but put your hope in God. But unfortunately, those things we pray to God for in Nigeria are what government provides for their people abroad. It's a necessity for being alive. You are entitled to security. The system runs like that. I like to always drive my analogy from where we are coming from in 2015. I know the agitation. Some of us were at the forefront, painfully and sadly. We are on this same platform to say that what the Jonathan administration was doing in Nigeria is not what we desire as individuals. And as such, we do not want him. Let me also tell you, some people say Buhari took us backward. Buhari did not take us backward. Buhari took us to a different direction. It didn't take us backward. Because if Buhari had taken us backward, would have still been in 2015 in terms of the reality, when a dollar was about 200 Naira. The insecurity you find today, my brother, is an attestation of the economic crisis in this country. And that in itself, we can only hope. That's why you see Nigerians are leaving this country in droves. You wake up in the morning, you are not assured of anything. There is nothing government do for you. Government will not give you security. If not for the local vigilantes you have now found, even though it also has its own implication on the society as it were currently in the country, I can't tell what would apparently have happened. What will this government beat its chest to say it has done for the Nigerian people, considering where we are coming from? Because let's not forget that we are somewhere in 2015 where Nigerians rose up in unison to say we cannot continue in this pattern. We are saying that pattern we are saying was not good for us. This current administration, who we all advocated, they were hue and cry for their coming, has failed us. Painfully, we don't even have the voice we had during the Jonathan administration. Those voices that you hear, those voices of dissent against their actions have been attacked. And let me also tell you, Apostle Joseph Suleiman was just a few seconds away from death. But for his bulletproof car, it would have been the end of the story. And you ask yourself, if security personnel can be so killed in a gruesome manner, the only link which have been arrested, purportedly arrested, was killed by the same persons who are empowered to protect life and properties, I feel there is more to that issue than meets the eyes. And I ask myself, quite frankly, why the anxiety to take the mama's life? Either of two things comes to my mind. First, that man in himself was never involved in that action. Because if you say that was one of the suspects who carried out that dastard act, you ought to have protected him. You needed more link. Because first, if for nothing, your own colleague was killed. And by the spirit of comradeship, we expect that you must do everything to ensure that you get the link to find the killers. If you kill one security officer outside this country, they take everything within their reach to identify it and ensure it doesn't happen again. Police officers are killed without concern. Another police officer pulled the trigger to the glare of the public with video evidence to see, and you claim that man is the one who carried that. My own personal opinion is that they had a lot to hide. And again, painfully enough, those who are to investigate actions and inactions are not the ones shredding facts and evidence in secrecy. Where do we go from there?
Big question.
Where do we go from there? And that has been my worries. If with the length of security Apostle Joseph Suleiman has, he can be a subject of that, then every other individuals around here, both physically and spiritually, are in trouble. To my mind, Nigerians must begin to rework their mind. We must take our destinies by our hand. We are in a state of anarchy. Nobody can say anything different. That is the current situation. Insecurity zero. And the US and the America, they have sent a warning. Historically, these two countries don't speak for the fun of it with respect to issues of great security. And to confirm what they have said, and to show the concern they have for their citizens, they are already telling their non-core staffs to leave that area And I've asked others to be very vigilant. And I asked by myself, what are the duties of the service chiefs? What are the duties of the secret police? And to confirm that, I am told a few days after, or even the next day, they invaded an estate and some persons were arrested with explosive. This confirms, well, if it took the US
to give that warning for them to
give that warning outside the shores of this country, to not tell us these are the issues on ground.
All right.
It means that we're in deep mess.
Let me pause you there as we step up a little bit. I've heard people say 2023 election is a watershed for this country. I always love to talk about that, you know, vis-a-vis interfacing it with some of the things that are in the public space from the political parties, from the candidates. But while we have that as a focus today, another issue that has been dragging in the last couple of days is the plan by the Central Bank of Nigeria to redesign the Naira, and that was supposed to come into effect on the 15th of December. But the Minister of Finance, National Planning and Budget, Zainab Ahmed, in an interface with the Senate, said the federal government is unaware. And so I want to ask the question, like someone have asked, you know, is this country under the command and control under the command and control of an individual? Who is actually running this country? Because I can't understand why an agency that is supposed to be under the ambit of the central bank, under the ambit of the Federal Ministry of Finance, will be putting together a policy, and then the supervising ministry will say they are not aware, which by extension the federal government is not aware. Let me get your take on this. Yeah.
Thank you very much. According to the press briefing that the CBN governor gave personally, where he made that announcement, he clearly stated there that the president has given approval for that action to be carried out. So if the president has given approval, according to him, I'm not sure he'll be lying. If the president has given approval for the redesign and the issue of new Naira notes, whatever the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Plan is saying, it's up to her to let Nigerians know. Because I think that Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, is intelligent enough to know what he ought to do. And I believe that he has gone through that process. If the president bypassed the ministry, or he decided to bypass the ministry to obtain to get permission from the president, it's okay for them. But they need to tell Nigerians in bullet points what would be the advantage of spending billions of naira to redesign and reprint our currencies. What are we going to gain? How is that going to help inflation rate? How is that going to help the naira to appreciate? Are they, like people have insinuated, is it trying to curb money laundering or vote buying? What are the advantages? In bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, let us know what the advantages are, whether the minister is aware or not. And for your information, the minister may be aware and may just want to deny that before the Senate. That's how this country works. Like you said, who is in charge of this country? The country is on autopilot.
So we have a president. I mean,
no.
That's just a rhetorical question that I asked. We have a president, President Muhammadu Buhari, is the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The president of Nigeria.
The camera is on me. If that man is not snoring, at least he's sleeping. That's the truth. If we have a president in this country, I drove through the roads that I go through. I was in Awuchi 2 days ago, and I came yesterday. I was weeping for our road. We never had it that bad since I was born when I started traveling in the 70s. I've never seen our road this bad. I'm not talking of outside Edo State, I'm talking of within Edo State. Is it the Bini-Eho Road? Is it the... Let me tell you, on the 19th of January, 2019, in the build-up of the 2019 election, the vice president visited. It was on a Saturday. And I was privileged to be among the people who interacted with him, closed-door meeting. And I asked him, it took you people 4 years to construct 13 kilometers of road from Rama Park to Egba Junction. 4 years to after Egba Junction. How long will it take you to construct the road from there to Auchi? You are seeing the distance they have covered. They just covered after Oroposa community. Yeah. So that's the country where we are. In other words, for 8 years, almost, all that the federal government can give to Edo State is less than 20 kilometers of road. So, and you see that somebody is there. If the man is not snoring, he's at least sleeping. And you can see that with the physical infrastructure in Edo State. Is there any president, any federal president? In 2015, this government told us they are going to construct a coastal rail line from Lagos to Calabar. Have they done groundbreaking ceremony? Okay. Somebody is snoring.
Okay, let me get Barrister Ewo. Take it off from there, because this is a subject that is really in the minds of the average Nigerian because of the economic crunch and the realities on the ground in the nation in terms of promises made and promises yet to be fulfilled. What's your take on this efforts by the CBN and the reaction that is generated?
The Central Bank of Nigeria, listening to the governor of the Central Bank, Governor Emefiele, had relied on Section 19 of the CBN Act, which empowers the bank, the central bank as it were, to redesign, produce, and to distribute currency. And the central bank governor went further to say that, of course, they sought the approval of Mr. President. Now, suddenly we heard that from the Minister of Budget and National Planning that government is not aware and that the CBN was on its own. One would begin to wonder whether indeed we have a structure in place that will tend to take care and manage the situation, particularly the economic situation in our country. This is a very serious economic issue, which, of course, I expect the country to speak with one voice. And if the minister had come up to mention this, as serious as it is, then I would have expected too that the person who would have been speaking on behalf of Mr. President in the present situation would have been the media aide to Mr. President. I'm thinking Garba Shehu, and then the other man who is also there with Mr. President, to talk to us as to whether indeed the governor of the central bank sought the approval of Mr. President in going about this. And perhaps too, because we find ourselves in a country where government will always give citizens the impression, or will give us cause to begin to attack the government, or to begin to criticize the government for what it tries to do or what it has omitted to do. In this kind of situation, it wouldn't have been a matter for debate or discussion. After all, the Act itself empowers the Central Bank of Nigeria to do what they have sought to do. And in doing this, of course, they will give good reasons for doing what they want to do. I listened to the director of currency operations of the Central Bank yesterday, and I also listened to the director of monetary policy of the Central Bank, Hassan Hamed of the Central Bank of Nigeria, on this program, Arise TV, which was being moderated by the former presidential spokesperson that time, to Mr.
Abati.
Ruben Abati, to this Goodluck Jonathan. And their discussion, the reasons why the central bank is going about this appear to be very, very laudable and I think genuine. They talked about security concern also, that there was need for the government, the central bank, to be able to mop out the funds, which is one of the responsibilities, one of the core duties of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and then to check issues of security too, because of monies, huge sums of monies that are being given out by way of ransom to kidnappers. And then for some other reasons too, the issue of the 2023 election was also in focus. Of course, people would want to use funds to be able to lobby voters and the rest of them. So, but one core and critical area that worries us is the fact that government has, genuine as its intention may be, to some of us, perhaps it is ill-timed. 2023 election is around the corner. And the man has just less than 6 months to stay in office. Why go about all this? And then that perhaps may have also given rise to why the Minister of Budget and National Planning has come up to also deny this whole thing. Is it possible to perhaps that they didn't sit together on a round table to begin to discuss this? Or is it also not possible that they are trying to test the waters?
I see
the reaction of
to know how to
the
respond
public.
to it.
So these are some of the concerns,
Questions
and then of course,
answers.
which Nigerians will begin.
All right,
to
Pastor
meditate because of time.
Viawi, this whole thing, I mean, they are tangential to the 2023 election. How does that resonate with you?
To my mind, I feel that when you are constrained as to how to know the government itself confused and have no direction, it's not difficult to find out. Because when you talk about redesign the Naira and the economic policies around it, you cannot undermine the position of the Minister of Finance around this cycle. And if you have gotten Mr. President's approval to act in that manner, we expect that these persons who are within the heart of the economic committee to drive the economic fortune of this country must be on the same page, because it's a policy issue. And again, if you are doing that, it's geared towards redirecting the policy trust of this current administration. The economic policy in this country have failed, and that again you can see from the comparison between the dollar and the Naira. It's obvious. You don't even need anybody to argue that from any end. And I think the Naira is already above 750 Naira as we speak right now. And again, my worry is that why I'm backing on this policy towards the twin light of the end of your administration, not to test the waters. What if it becomes disastrous? You put the burden on the next person. You'd have done this long ago. And you see the pain. These are some of the challenges. Rather than Emefiele belaboring himself with these issues, he was bothered thinking about becoming the president. He's going to pick presidential forms when there are core economic issues that have bedeviled this country. The Naira is nosediving.
Seriously.
Hugely to the dollar. You are thinking of becoming the president. An office which ought to be policy driven, devoid of political affiliation and coloration. You immerse yourself in politics. Bought a phone for 100 million Naira.
His friends.
And yes, and suddenly he pulled out. Mr. President did not say anything wrong in that. One who ought to be a policy driver, who ought to be a specialist in an area, decided to wash his hands in the dirty and monkey water of politics. And now he's coming back to say he wants to redesign the Naira. And he has said that those around the policy direction of the CBN have said it has economic importance to for the country. To my mind, they have brought Nigeria into this mess as at today. They must do all that is required within the time limit to save Nigeria from this mess. Because we have never had it this bad. The cost of living, I sympathize with the public servants who have fixed salaries. Their salaries has failed, no more purchasing power. A man who has been earning 40,000 Naira before his administration is now in trouble. He must be ready to be corrupt. He must be ready to demand for gratification. He must be ready, if possible, even though we do not encourage it, to cut corners to be able to take life, because school fees have increased, cost of living have increased, their salaries have not been increased.
Let me
How will these people survive?
Master,
let me give us policies that do not better our lot.
Let me pursue there. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's still Politics Today on independent television and radio. We'll take a short break. Barrister St. Michael Agwagi will be joining us shortly, and then we'll be back to continue on our conversations on the 2023 elections before our studio line will be open, so you can also call and be part of the discussion. Please stay with us. Many thanks again for rejoining us on Politics Today on independent television and radio. Barrister St. Michael Agwagi is a civil society activist. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.
How does this statement resonate with you that 2023 election is a watershed for this country vis-a-vis the current realities, the current challenges, insecurity, economy, and what have you?
Yes, the next administration has a responsibility and a duty, to correct so many wrongs and, to fill the lapse that has been, created by successive administration. As we speak, Nigerians or Nigeria as an entity has witnessed a sequence of a plethora of economic policy somersaults, such that, the economy, today is in a state of quagmire. If you look at the difference in value between, the dollar and Naira, it has become so humongous, seismic in proportion. And that is why, some of us are a bit worried as to the proposed redesign of Naira. I've asked myself, what are the merits of this concept or idea that is being nurtured by the CBN governor? Listening to the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning, she said very obviously that the idea, come with attendant consequences. What has the monetary authority put in place to mitigate
the consequences?
These consequences.
Okay.
At the moment, 1,000 Naira is equal to $2. Is changing the color of the Naira, going to upgrade Naira, to that value? Is it going to add weight? Because, Naira at the moment is like a tissue paper, is depreciating on a daily basis. And it's impacting negatively on the lives, of the people. And the worst hit, in the Nigerian population is the Raktas and the Bhaktis, the hoi pollois, the Talakawas, the plebeians, the downtrodden in our society, those that occupy the lowest ladder, the lowest rung of, our economic organogram are the worst hit. How is it going to impact, on them, positively? The time this man is supposed to, expend on thinking, on pondering, on coming up with, economic drive and policies, that will better our lot. That was the time he spent in politicking. He went to procure, a ticket. Is it a ticket or form now? For 100 million Naira. And the president didn't do anything about it.
But he has a right. He's a Nigerian.
That's a clash
of interest.
Identity and a conflict of interest and responsibility. Okay. People who occupy a very sensitive, office with the capacity, to come up with policies that will impact, heavily on the economy, does not dive into the murky waters of politics.
All right, I'll
as it affects Africa.
All right, I'll pause it there. Every election year, it's always an opportunity for the people to change the narratives, take their destinies in their hands. Does 2023 present that opportunity for Nigerians?
Yes, we have options right now. Like I've said in time past in other fora, we have options. We have about 18 presidential candidates. We have 4 major ones. NMPP have Kwankwaso. Labour Party has Peter Obi. PDP, the main opposition party, has Atiku Abubakar. And then, of course, the incumbent party in power, APC, has Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that he's going to continue with the policies of the Buhari administration. I don't think I'm putting him out of context. That's what he said. He wants to continue with what the president is doing. So it's left for Nigerians to decide to vote for a man who wants to continue with insecurity, or continue with bad economic policies, or continue with failed anti-corruption fight, and all the crises we are going through? Does Nigerians want to have another Muslim or another Fulani man after the president who is a Fulani man for 8 years? Do we still want another Fulani man in the person of Atiku? It's left for them to decide. Do you want an Hausa man from the north after a northerner has lived for 8 years in the person of Kwankwaso? It's left for Nigerians. Can Nigerians trust a Southeasterner like Obi? It's left for them. All of these things put together, what we should be thinking of is the future. There are a lot of things that we didn't enjoy and we are not enjoying, and the likelihood that we'll enjoy it, even if you have a very decent president, the likelihood that things will turn and become a Dorado overnight is not there. Okay. Now, can we have someone who, if he's elected president, it can begin to change the narrative, so that in the next 10, 20 years, when our children are about our age, then they will have a better nation. Okay. So it shouldn't be about me. It shouldn't be about what I can get. Okay. It shouldn't be about my party. It shouldn't be about my state or my religion. It's who is that person that can change the narrative, okay, that can give Nigeria a better nation. So that's why the options are there for us to choose from. But if you choose a line of political party or religion or tribe, we're going to end up going back to where we're coming from. Like someone said earlier, Barrister Obiawe said that the current administration didn't take us back. If you took us back, we'll be buying a bag of rice now for 8,000 Naira. But you didn't take us back, you took us to the bush. And I don't know how easy. Sorry, Sonny Duke, the damage that has been done to this country, I don't think we can recover in 50 years.
Okay. Barrister, how ready are the electorates to make the best of 2023 by your assessment?
Well, INEC, the electoral umpire, had taken out time in the course of preparing for the 2023 election to embark on voters' education. They were done in various senatorial geopolitical zones and later in different states. And then, of course, that was an opportunity for people to, more so as the process of getting the PVCs, I mean the permanent voters card, was thrown open, and then, of course, people were educated and enlightened to know that their powers lie in their PVCs. And of course, that is an opportunity for us as citizens to do the needful. Not necessarily what people go out there to say, not the crowd that you see in a campaign, like when a presidential candidate comes into a state or comes to flag up his campaign, and then you begin to see so much crowd. The truth must be told here, that most of the candidates that you see and the crowd that you see with them are bought crowd.
Rented crowd.
Rented crowd. They pay them money to assemble. At least we are witnesses to what we are talking about. And people should not be deceived or be cajoled by what they see. And you should not come to the realization or assessment of a candidate's capacity by what the number of persons you see in a campaign ground. Okay. So Nigerians should, at this particular point in time, begin to identify what they want for themselves in the near future. Nigeria has suffered so much. Where we were in 2015 is not where we are now. So many persons have left the shores of this country. As I speak to you, in a particular street where I stay, more than 8 persons have left, relocated from the shores of this country. And from the lineup of presidential candidates, apart from 1 or 2, I find it very difficult to come to the conclusion that we'll get it right this time around. Because, of course, one of the major political parties that we thought was going to make the difference because of the agitations here and there is already complaining of lack of funds. And the major political parties that are ruling, either at the national or in some states, are believing that, of course, the contest is between both of them. And if we find ourselves in this situation, like my brother Reverend have talked about, then he has analyzed the kind of the expectations that we will get from this.
Okay.
Is it that we want somebody from the north to continue with the 8 years of one from the north who is leaving by May 29, 2023? Or we want someone who is...
Or maybe a fresh person
entirely, of course, and all those things. And then that will put us in a very difficult situation. In fact, we'll now be in a barber's chair of perpetual state of motion. That is where we find ourselves, or we go back to where we are coming from.
They talk that in 2023, the focus should be on the persons, the candidates, not the political party. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Cuculos non fossit monchon.
Did you just speak Spanish or Chinese or Japanese or
Indian?
It means a hood does not make a monk.
Okay.
It is not the hood the bishop wears that actually make him a bishop. It is the content. It is who he is. It is the man that makes the office. It is not the office that makes the man. We are in a precarious moment where Nigeria, has been pushed, to the edge of its precarious precipice, threatening to cascade into an ocean of emasculation, such that the dire moments require a quality leadership to re-gravitate us, from these ominous, dangerous points, to a positive path, that will lead, to economic, buoyance. As we speak, the state of insecurity have become so alarming, such that we should not be, thinking about, the tribe of the individual. We should not be we should not be focused on the religion. We should not be focused on the party. We should be looking at the individual.
Okay, let's take this.
The primary question should be, does the person have, the ability, the competence, to deliver the job?
Okay, our studio line is on the screen, but for the benefit of our listeners on radio, we're going to read that number to you. But let me take this call as a curtain raiser on the program. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. What's your name, and where are you calling us from? Hello. Good morning. What's your name?
I'm calling from today.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Listen, what I see in the situation is that, this politics of the game. You see some people now, they pay money, they give people money, try to collect their people too, but that will not help us in this election. What I suggest is that at least we should just vote the person of our mind, the person we know that we want to vote for. We should just vote for that person. So I will still need a friend.
Okay. All right, I'll pause you there. 07083651320. That's our studio number. 07083651320. Call that number and be part of the program. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning.
Yes, please go ahead.
My name is Daniel.
You need to try and speak up a little bit so we can give more people opportunities. Once your line is through, just go ahead with your contribution. Good morning, caller. What's your name?
Hello.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from? We lost that call. I hope you can get back to us as soon as possible. Hello, good morning, caller. What's your name? Please turn down the audio level on your TV or radio.
Oh, yeah, good morning. This is my wife calling from MMW.
Yes, the echo is still there. Turn down the audio level, please.
Actually, Nigeria economy as we speak is in the state of epilepsy, which we, the citizens of Nigeria, we are so tired, and Nigeria have never been so bastardized. So, if you ask me, I would rather campaign that we should vote as Peter Obi
so that at least we can have a change of leadership and let's go away with all these old people that has nothing good to offer.
Okay, that's your
That's
opinion.
my contribution, sir.
That's your opinion. Thank you. 070-836-5-1320. That's the studio number. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Good morning, caller.
No, Pacific.
Yes, what's your name and where you're calling from?
This is Sonny Gadosa from Airport.
Sonny Gadosa, please go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. You know the painful part of all the situation? You have the current MP in your office there. You have the Reverend in your office there. You have from the civil society. Put their statement together and see whether there's anything different there. That shows that they are in this country. They can feel what the ordinary people they are feeling. You listen to someone like Barrister, the friend activist of Yahweh, was feeling sorry for civil servants. Do you know this week now, bag of rice is already 50,000. The almighty Nigeria rice that we are talking about is already 46,000 naira. Is he at the reach of the common man? Food infinity has already been sold 200, 215. And a president came out and scored himself very high. Just like Reverend C said, what do the people want is the question I asked before. Because Apostle Paul wrote a book and taught it in a road that leads to nowhere. If we cannot have an address of what we are going to the next 4 years, it is a journey that cannot arrive as a destination. So we need to ask ourselves, what do we want to do? How can we change the scenario? When someone like Lai Mohammed go and play his message, when the UN said something about Tomagulo Jonathan, how they played that battle back again? They didn't expect that those people that would talk about them. And they said, would you take them serious? So we need to ask ourselves two questions. How do we move from where we are right now? How can we change the scenario? It is the how the Nigerian citizen should be asking now till 2023.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Sonny Gadosa. We truly appreciate you. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Please endeavor to turn down the audio level on your television or radio set. Please call the studio line. Call the studio number. Don't call my private number. Good morning, caller. What's your name?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Dr. Sunday from Igwezomo.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank you for the program, and I'm very glad. And the people you invited there, they are speaking our mind.
Thank
like
you.
what you asked the barrister of Yahweh, he analyzed it a little bit. He did not finish it all.
Because
like
of time.
what the U.S. Deposits that the security issue.
Yeah.
So in 2015, when you said they said Nigeria is going to depart, will not become Nigeria, the reason was that because it was God that was in action because people were praying. And secondly, God will not make it happen. Because when he won the election, but he decided to leave it. If we were to be, he dragged the election, it could have been a bloodshed. It could have been another thing. You remember when this government were coming on, when the first contest, he said if he didn't win, he's going to make this country ungovernable for Goodluck Jonathan. And that is how Boko Haram came. So my people, the thing we are seeing now today is very alarming. And we pray that God will help us. And we should not betray ourselves. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, thank you, caller. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning. My name is King. I'm calling from Jerry.
Kings, go ahead.
It's surprising to notice what is happening in Nigeria. As a first 14, when Brian was campaigning in Kano, he asked the crowd how much was spaghetti and they told him like 5 naira. And today we all know how much is spaghetti. Why I'm saying this is because Nigeria has fallen to a state that only God can help us. It's so painful for me to, after the education I've acquired, while going to school and all that. And I see some young youths still following these same politicians, still campaigning for them. I don't know if they have an idea of what's happening in this country. Now we're talking about the former the governor, the governor of PBN, talking about the running of money and all that. So although it's a good idea, but sometimes it's also a bad idea.
Okay. That's the much we can take. Let's just come back to the studio and get a final point from our panelist, Reverend.
Yes, I need to go back to the issue of security. The CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria, Edo State, has issued a statement condemning the act of assassination attempt against Apostle Suleiman. The CPFM, PFN Youth National have also issued a statement, and I'm also lending my voice to the voice of my fathers to say we condemn that act, and the government agency should ensure that the people who attempted to assassinate a general in the gospel field, that they are brought to book without further delay.
All right, Pastor.
Well, I also want to lend my voice to that, condemning the attack on the man of God. It is most insensible, it is most condemnable, and it is an act that would, to a large extent, begin to question the security situation and architecture of this country. And then I want to also appeal to Nigerians to, at this point in time, go to the polls, vote for persons of your choice. Do not be influenced monetarily, because we realize now that what the politicians do is to take advantage of the poverty level of citizens.
Which, by extension, they created. All right, Vice President, last word.
What happened to Reverend Apostle Suleiman is a reflection of the socio-economic situation of our country, and a pointer, to the security failure that we are experiencing. The country is in a state of anomy, a state of socio-economic and political higgledy-piggledy. So the moment calls, for us to sit down and look at the country, very carefully. We need to ask ourselves, what do we do with this country? What do we do with this country will give us answers.
Okay. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Georgie. I'm calling from Edo State.
Yes, go ahead, Gordon. Please turn down the audio level on your TV or radio.
Okay. So what I want to say is that the country, we are suffering from flood. Many states have flooding. The government has not talked about the flood. They are talking about
changing the Naira.
election. That's what I want to talk about.
All right, thank you. That's our package for today on your ultimate news and current affairs program on a weekend like this. Politics Today, reaching you live on independent television and radio. I want to say big thanks to all our panelists. Reverend Phil Aroji, it's always a delight to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
Barrister Pius Oiwo, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Vice President Michael Aguagi, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And of course, Barrister Abraham of Yahweh was here earlier. Thank you so much for your commitment to Politics Today. To you watching or listening at home, we truly appreciate you. But like I always say on the show, our destinies is in our hands, and it's our responsibility to use our PVCs to do the needful come 2023. Until and unless we exercise that right without fear of favor, things definitely will not change. That's our package today. Have a great weekend, and bye for now.